Hello, hello. How is everyone? Just running a little late. Oh no, it's 8:30 here. I'm on time. Want to make sure I'm coming in nice and loud. Let me check the tubes. Yeah, I am. All right, cool. I'm coming in nice and loud, which is great. All right. Do our usual thing. Oh, I've setting things up. Moving things around. And we're good to go. All right. Oh, need to go. What is it? Just need to send off a few, whatever you call them on Blue Sky. Blues, toots, tweets. I don't know. Whatever the post is. Okay, what is it? Going live. And generating PDFs. Such a riveting topic tonight. All right. And what is it? What is it? What is it? It's that one. Sweet. Let's turn this off. Start recording there. And let's start recording. What's it? Camtasia. That's it. Turn that one off, that one, and the proper, there we go. Have to make sure I'm utilizing the right mic. And that is that. Now we're good to go. All right, awesome. And last but not least, I think that's it. Awesome. Okay. Let's switch over to the main feed and we can jump right into it. I'll need to see the comments and then we can get into it. All right. Okay. All right, not like that. All right. So if you have any questions, just chuck them in as we go. Throw in all your questions. I'll do my best to answer them. Let's get into it because, well, we have the Miami sprint qualifying in 2 hours, 2.5 hours at 10:30 my time. So I want to be done by then. I think it's 10:30 my time. Yeah. Well, am I going to be now demonetized because I said Formula One? Anyway, have a bit of fun, eh? Okay, I think everything is all set up. Yep, it is. All right, cool. All right. Someone's been playing around with my, hang on. I think somebody's been playing around with my camera. A little further away. Bring that in just a little bit more. There we go. Got to fix that up beforehand. Actually move my desk as well. Drop that a bit lower. There we go. I am framed nicely. All right. Okay. We might as well just get into it. All right, cool. So, hello and welcome to tonight's stream. Today we're going to be talking about generating PDFs in Drupal, specifically Drupal CMS. Now, why do you want to generate PDFs? Well, there's many reasons why you want to generate a PDF. Maybe it's a requirement from a client. I don't know. That's pretty much most of the time. Well, why is anything required in Drupal? It's because it is a requirement, and there are a bunch of modules you can use to download a PDF version of a Drupal page, and there's a ton of ways you can do it. Now, obviously, the simplest way, if you want to generate a print preview version, and this is what I always do. Whenever a client asks, oh, we want to generate PDFs, the first thing I say, are we able to just use the print friendly version using Chrome? So if you go, what is it, Command P, for example, like so, you get this little pop-up and you can save it and save it as a PDF. Sometimes that is all that is required. And trust me, if the client comes back and says, oh yeah, this is fine, stick with this. You do not want to have to set up custom modules or deal with DOM PDF or deal with libraries that don't render PDFs correctly, because remember, you are converting an HTML document essentially into a PDF. And if you've ever done that in the past, you know how annoying it can be when you just want to render some bit of HTML and it's not rendering correctly in a PDF. So my first word of warning is, well, it's kind of funny, we are going to cover how to do PDFs, but my first thing is, and my first tip is, if you can avoid generating PDFs, you will save a lot of heartache in the future, especially if you can just use the print feature in the browser, because then you can also utilize a, print style sheet, and then you can just hide half the stuff that you don't want displayed, and it looks pretty decent. I've developed some pretty good looking PDFs just by putting in a custom print.css. But tonight we are going to look at a module, and the module that we're going to take a look at, let me just jump out of here, is called Entity Print. The usability of a module starts with the name, and this is a great one. What does this module do? Well, it allows you to print entities. And it does support other formats. So if you search for, say, Word, there is an actual issue to have Word support, so you can generate Word documents. There's also EPUB. You can see the replies here, okay? Just remember that, 85 replies. And then we have, what is it, EPUB, which is another format. I think this one is add export. Yeah, export to EPUB. It was nearly 9 years ago, a long time ago. And I don't think this is coming anytime soon, but there is the opportunity in the future for there to be EPUB and Word support. But as far as I'm aware, even Word support isn't quite there. Because when you think about it, Entity Print, it's a very generic name. It's not just PDFs. But we are going to be using the PDF feature for it. So you want to start things off by simply going down here and downloading it using Composer. Now, I've already done that, okay? And if we come here to my Drupal CMS site, all I've done is I've created a custom content type called, take a look here, called purchase order. And what we're going to do is just imagine we have this purchase order, which has a logo, supplier, customer, and it's got a table here. And we want to generate a PDF off this because we want to print it off and do something with it. I don't know. And so this is just a basic content type. I haven't done anything groundbreaking here. I've just added in a logo field, a supplier, long formatted field. Was it long? No, what is it? Long formatted. Yeah, text long formatted. Formatted meaning that we can style it. And then I just utilize paragraphs, and then we can add in line items, which is item, quantity, and also price. And that's it. Because this is a very common use case. You want to now generate a PDF of this. So how do we do that? Well, doing it is fairly straightforward. So once you've downloaded everything, go to extend and search for print. And install the entity print module and click on install. We'll select it and then click on install. And once it's installed, you want to go ahead and make sure that the permissions are configured correctly, because even though you can hide the view PDF link, you don't want to allow anonymous users to generate PDFs unless you really want them to generate PDFs, because it does utilize resources on the server. So I do recommend that if you are going to configure permissions, which you should absolutely, make sure you configure it correctly. And so you want to correctly configure it for authenticated users, and if you must, anonymous users. But I would highly recommend that you probably avoid doing it for anonymous users unless it's a massive requirement and it's really, really required. But for now, I'm just going to ignore the permissions because I'm logged in as admin and this is my local site, so I don't have to really worry about that. But if you're going to do it on your main site, make sure it is configured. And let's now go to content types. And what I'll do is let's go to one of the purchase orders. And the reason why you see this add link right here is because I'm using paragraphs table, which allows you to display paragraph items as tables. I can see the add button because I'm logged in as admin, but if I'm not logged in as admin, like so, I won't see it. So I just want to bring that up. But if you do want to display paragraphs as tables, then take a look at paragraphs table module. It's pretty useful. All right, so the first thing we need to do now is add in one field formatter. So what we can do is go into content types, and let me go to manage display, and I'll go to full content, and I've set up, layout builder. And you can see here, you can see a preview of all the fields. I always like to untick that and click on add block and search for, PDF? Yeah, should be view PDF. And let's just add that in. We'll just add that in down at the bottom and click on save layout. Then if we come along in here and refresh, we should see view PDF. Now, if you click on it, it's going to download it. Now it's added in a brackets 5 because I've downloaded the same thing a few times. But if we click on it, we get now a PDF version of the entity. Now, there are a few things here that we can clean up. Don't worry about that. We'll clean those up. But all I did was download the module, and it is using the library called DOM PDF. So that is a library, PHP library, that converts the DOM, so HTML and stuff like that, into PDFs. And there are other libraries you can use, but DOM PDF just comes down with the module. And then what you have to do is simply add the button as a formatter to your manage display page, and that's it. And then you can just click on it and you can generate PDFs. Okay, pretty simple. All right, if we go to configuration, so open that up. And what we can do is go to entity print, sorry. And you will see a few messages here. If you want to use these other libraries, you can, but we're not using them. And from PDF, you can download it. From PDF dropdown, you can select exactly which library you want to use. So from the top, you have a few options. You can configure a few things. So you can enable default CSS. You can also force download. That's exactly what we saw, where it forced the download. If we uncheck this, it'll show it as a preview, which is useful. I actually prefer to see it as a preview, honestly. That's just my opinion. And then you have some DOM PDF settings, such as the paper size, portrait, stuff like that. And then further down, you can put in HTML authentication, and you can also configure the SSL as well. And then further down, you have the ability to set the EPUB and Word document options. But as I mentioned earlier, that's not quite supported, but maybe in the future it will be available. All right. So let's uncheck force download, because what I want to do is show you a few things. So let's refresh here and let's open up this in a new tab, and it's going to go to the actual preview, and you can see a preview of it. Now, another page that's pretty important is called debug, because what this does is that this will allow you to view the HTML that is getting generated before it goes to DOM PDF. So this is a great way of debugging why certain things are appearing, such as purchase order, which is a link up the top here. You also have this view PDF as well, this view PDF link. And you can go ahead now and clean this up. So if we inspect, so let's do that and inspect a few things. Well, we can't see the Twig information, so let's go ahead and fix that up. If you go into configuration, development settings, let's turn off caching and turn on Twig debugging, because now what we can do is we see all of these comments, and this makes debugging much easier. Let me just zoom this in. No, where is it? Oh, there we go. I want to zoom that in, because we can see here, if we go to the so where is it? Click on here. Let me bring this up. We have a few templates. We have the node right there. And one thing, let me just check one thing we can do is if we want to modify, and you'll see that the title has been removed, and that is because I was playing with this beforehand. So if you want to get rid of the title, you can override a few things here, okay? You can override a template. And you can see here that the node.html is getting loaded up. So if we open that up, so let's go to, what is it? Node.html, there we go. Let me just uncheck this. All right. So now we have the title back, okay? And here you can see that the main node.html is being used to render the actual PDF. Now, normally I wouldn't recommend that you use node.html because that is a very generic one. This template is used for all content pages. So we could just easily come along in here and be like, all right, well, let's just comment it out like I did. And then if we come in there and refresh, it's been removed. But there are other ways of doing it. So first things first, let's fix this up. What we need to do is go to the manage display. And if we click on custom display settings, you will see a new view mode called PDF. So entity print gives you this PDF view mode. And if we enable it and go to PDF, and if we refresh, it should start using it. You can see things that are slightly different. And that is because it is using now the PDF view mode. It's still using the node template, So the view mode that is used and the node template are two separate things. Okay, so just remember that, because if you were to programmatically load up an article using a specific view mode, unless you've overridden a template for that view mode, it's just going to resort back to node.html. And you can see here with the tick that it is doing that exact thing. So what we can do is we could just copy this, copy that, and because I don't want to type, I'll just grab this one, which is node purchase order PDF. We could just say, okay, any piece of content that is using the PDF, well, let's just do that actually. Any piece of content that's using the PDF view mode, well, it's got a copy of the node markup, and we can come along in here and just get rid of this stuff. It's not necessary. Okay, done and dusted. All right. And do we need to clear the cache? Let's flip a coin. Do we need to clear the cache? No, we shouldn't have to, because, oh no, I guess we do. Let me just make sure. All right, let's do that. Clear the cache. So let me just make sure I've done it correctly. Dash PDF, yes. And I am doing this in the main theme. You should really sub-theme it, but that's not the point of this live stream. There we go. Now the title is gone. All right, let's now clean this up so it's ordered nicely. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go back to manage display, then PDF. All right, so there's a comment, you disabled cache. I disabled the cache markup, but the actual caching of which templates are overridden is probably controlled by something else. So yes, I disabled caching, but there's many cache layers in Drupal. So that's why even when you changed the file that is getting loaded up, that in itself is still cached, and you just run a cache clear and you're done. All right, so we have generated that. So let's just make sure, yep, that's all done. And let's just clean this up. So put logo up the top, let's hide that. Let's add in a thumbnail. And what is it? 1 by 1. No, is it 1 ratio? So 300 by 300. Oh, let's get rid of links. Don't need that. And I do believe it's paragraphs table. Supplier is up the top. Customer. And I have to configure something here. I know that. And then just hide inline operations. So this is the paragraphs table module. As I mentioned, it just displays the paragraphs as a table. Then click on save, refresh. Then we've got a nice little logo there and things are looking good. All right, perfect. And now if we hit that, it is rendering it nicely. There we go. It's displaying it nicely right there. And as I mentioned, if you want to get rid of this, it really comes down to the permission. So because I'm logged in as admin and I've got permission to view it, I can see it. So you have a few options. You can probably, let me bring this out. Let's pull this out. Okay. So you've got purchase order HTML. See, it doesn't, this is interesting. You don't have the view mode here. So you've got the field, the node, the field name, the content type, but sometimes you want the actual view mode, because then what you can do is you can go ahead and hide and write a bit of custom code. The other option you can do is to override the style sheet and then just put in a display on none or something, and then just go ahead and generate it that way. There are a few options. Of course, if you are, I'm just trying to think. If you do not have permission to create a paragraph, then you won't see the add link potentially. But then if you're editing the purchase order, you will have access to it. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of, there are a few ways you can do it, and I don't want to waste time on that right now. So when it comes to setting up entity print, you do want to make use of the PDF view mode. You always want to override that, because as you saw, it does give you then flexibility to come along in here and modify the view modes. You can go ahead and just modify things, because chances are, depending on how complex your PDFs are, if they have a lot of markup and you want to really customize it, then you could potentially write a fair bit of custom Twig code to kind of build things out at the template level. So I've worked on some fun projects where they wanted a pretty fancy PDF to be generated, and everything was okay until I got to the point where certain content and markup would sometimes push content onto the next page. And that kind of broke things. Because I don't know if you remember, but back in the day when I was using Word, if you were in a large Word document and you made one slight change further up the top, it will break your formatting, because it will trickle down, and then all of a sudden you have pages, extra page down at the bottom, or like a half empty page midway through. It's a very hard thing to get right. But the client, all the client cares about is like, oh, when I generated this PDF, half the page was missing. It was like jumping on a second page. So you may have issues like that, but you really have to take it one step at a time and just fix it as it comes. But it is important to override the template just for this view mode. So at this point, we've looked at generating PDFs at the entity level. Now let's take a look at generating a PDF for a specific view, because yes, you can add a view PDF link on an actual view. So what I'll do is I do have a view that displays this table, but in a view format. And so what I'll do is I'll come along in here and go to full content and click on manage layout. And let's add in another section. Why not? We can do that. Click on add section, add block, and I'll search for, what is it? List? No, it's not list. It's called line items table, line item table. And click on add block. All right. And if we view our purchase order, we can see the table here, which is controlled by paragraph tables. And then we have this view, which I built earlier, which loads up. Where is it? It's right here. So we're pulling in the content ID through the route, and we're creating a relationship with paragraphs. And then all I'm doing is I'm then displaying the paragraph items in a table format. Okay, and that is it. That's all I'm doing. And if you want to learn more about views, this is a great plug for other videos. If you want to learn more about views, or if this is the first time you are seeing the views module and you're shocked by this very complex interface, which at first it is, like, I must admit, views is a very powerful module, but it can be a complex module. You can hide half of it just by clicking on advanced and collapsing that, and you don't see it. But if you do click on advanced, you will see a lot of options right here. If you want to learn more about views, head over to WebWash YouTube channel and search for views, and Oh, at this point, I should also plug the WebWash courses. So if you do go to webwash.net/courses, I recently just uploaded, and this is part of the WebWash Premium community. I did just upload this getting started with views in Drupal, and it is instead of the actual long live stream, it's all broken up into bite-sized chunks, and it's also ad-free as well. And this is free for now, but eventually it will be part of the WebWash Premium community. So you can just access all of these live streams. So these are just live streams, but just cut up in bite-sized chunks and also edited as well. So just go to webwash.net/courses to find out more. All right, let's go back here. So to print PDFs through views, what we first need to do is install a module. So let's go to Extend and search for Print, and you will see Entity Print Views. Click on Install and give that a moment. Let's go back to, no, not that tab. Let's go back to our view right here. And there will be a global field available for us. So we could click on, say, Header. And I do believe it's called, Print. Don't search for PDF, search for Print. And then you can select your export type. Again, we only have PDF, so we'll just leave it as PDF. And then you can specify your actual display and click on Apply. We click on Save. We should see this View PDF right here. And if we open this up in a new tab, it's going to generate a PDF of just that view. It's not going to generate absolutely everything, okay? That's important because this is part of the view. So it's just going to generate that PDF for us. And you can see here, it's actually passing in the arguments. So unfortunately, we cannot do /debug because it's passing in a get parameter. However, if we were to add this to a view, let's take a look at a view that doesn't have an argument. So what is the homepage view? Well, actually, let's add it to, no. Let's add it to the homepage. Is this a view? Yes, it is. No, that's not it. Is that it? No, that's not it. Where is it? There we go. Oh no, sorry, we can go technically edit, then click on that and go view. There we go. And let's add the print up the top. And if we have a look at this, we see print. Yep, we can view that. Latest. And I do believe if you add in debug, there you go. Now you can see the actual debug version. It's because it's not passing in an actual get parameter. So you can still see the debug version of it. And if you inspect it, it's going to load up. Well, it's always going to load up entity print. And then it loads up the view. And you can see, like, this is very views specific stuff. If you've ever played around with the views module and dealt with its markup, I just recently had to do some accessibility work on fixing it up. Yeah, this is very views like. So you can imagine creating a pretty nice setup. We can have a table. We can generate a result from a table and then have a nice export as a PDF. Some pretty cool stuff you can do that way. Just export as a PDF. So we've looked at how to generate PDFs on an entity and on a view. Let's now take a look at integrating entity print with Webform. Okay. because we can export submissions out using Webform. Oh, sorry, a module that integrates Entity Print with Webform. So what we're going to do is, because we're using Drupal CMS, we can go to Extend and then click on Recommend. And we're going to install one of these recipes. Now, just a quick plug on Drupal CMS. If this is the first time you're looking at Drupal, or you've used it in the past and you're like, wait a minute, this looks a bit different. So Drupal CMS is a packaged version of Drupal. What was previously Drupal is called Drupal Core. This is Drupal CMS. And one of the new features of Drupal CMS is this recipes system, where you can just install packaged functionality just by clicking on install. So we have this recipe called form, and this will give us web form with a single form called contact or something. So it just makes it easier to just click on install, and it just says installing, and it's installed, and it's done. That's it. Of course, you do have other options here. If you want to add in AI assistant, you can do that, and it kind of sets everything up for you, just kind of configures things for you. So if we go to structure, now one thing to be aware of, and this is one thing I noticed, is that once you install it and you go to say structure, you'll be like, okay, where's Webform? Because Webform is meant to be under views. But the reason why it's not there is because we haven't technically reloaded the page. So if we reload the page and click on structure, we can see web forms as well. And before we can actually do it, let's just close all these tabs because there's too many tabs as usual. Let's go to extend and search for entity print. And Webform ships, well, Webform ships a ton of sub modules, but it ships two of them: Webform entity print, and then Webform entity print attachment. This attachment does attach the PDF to the email, but that requires a bit more configuration. So we'll just focus on this Webform entity print. And then let's install that. And this will then just integrate it with entity print. You still need to download the entity print module and configure it, but if you just download Webform, then Webform comes with that particular sub module. All right, so we've installed the sub module, and let's go to Webform and contact. And what I'll do is I'll create a few submissions. So Webform does have a nice tab here called test, and it just generates some dummy data. You can just click on that a few times, get a bit of test data. Let me do that a few times. And I should also mention, just a quick plug, if you want to learn more about Webform, there is a live stream on using Webform. Just head over to the WebWash YouTube channel and search for it. Let me do it one more time, and that is it. So if we go to view, well, let's go to actually settings, and we go to submissions. Sorry, results. Webform has a lot of options, too many buttons. And if we click on one of the submissions, we should see this PDF or download PDF. And it's automatically set up for us, which is great. And if we click on download PDF, it is going to give us a nice version of it. I do also believe if you type in /debug, yes, there you go, it's consistent. Woohoo! This will then allow you to debug your PDFs. See, with me, it's like, when it comes to this type of integration functionality, it's great when it works, but then when it doesn't work, I want to know how to debug it. That's the most important thing. So yeah, everything's great when it works, but how do you then fix it when it's broken? How do you even attempt to debug it? And this is where just understanding the /debug command or path, sorry, is very important, because 9 times out of 10, the issues that you're going to have is going to be styling issues. Hands down, you're just going to have styling issues a lot of the times. So let's go back. If you want to configure the options. So let's go back into Webform, go to options. No, sorry, configuration. And if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there will be entity print. There we go. And you can configure a few things down here, such as the CSS. That is actually pretty handy to have available. That is very handy to have. And then you can have a few options down here as well. You can modify a few things. One thing, yeah, web form settings, I always get lost in the web form settings. There's a lot of options. Very powerful module. I love the module. I use it a lot, but I do sometimes get lost in all the configuration, because sometimes you're like, oh wait, is it the configuration under the form, or is it the actual web form configuration? And when I started using entity print, I had to look at the code, because I could not find exactly where this configuration was. Perhaps somebody should put in a bit of like a little quick finder. That would actually be a cool little project. So if you want to contribute to the module, put in the ability where you can have like a little, filtering the configuration. That would be awesome. Okay. So as you've seen, configuring entity print is pretty straightforward. All you need to do is really just go ahead, download it, and it comes with DOM PDF. Now, of course, depending on how complex your styling, your actual entities are, will really determine how much effort you're going to put into things. Because, yeah, as I've mentioned, you're going to spend a fair bit of time fixing up styling issues. But once you've configured it, it's pretty straightforward. You just need to add the correct buttons to the page, and you can go directly to the paths as well. But you also want to make sure that you've configured the permissions, and you want to configure all of that just in case, okay? Because there are two actual issues that I want to mention and cover. All right. The first one is, so I'll bring this one up, is possibility of altering the headers, okay? Because what's happened is, I do believe that search engines sometimes find the paths and will index. And depending how your site is configured, it may or may not cache the results. So if a search engine, for example, so let's go here, okay? If a search engine finds this link, they will just smash the link over and over again. And this stuff uses resources to generate. And I can just imagine, because I've heard stories now of Drupal sites going down because of the AI bots crawling search pages that have facets on it. So facets are those little things where you can just drill down, and depending on how many facets you have, you can have a lot of links, and the AI bots are just smashing those links and just hitting it. And I've seen a fair bit of chatter on LinkedIn about it. So you just want to be aware that if you are going to expose these links to anonymous users, that Google will come along and index that data as well. And that's another thing I should also mention, is that, and this has happened to me in the past. It's happened countless times in the past, where, especially with government, okay, they post a PDF and then they want to say delete it, okay, because there are certain legislations depending which government you're in. But I know the government that I've worked with, sometimes they have a PDF, it's available from day one to a certain end date, and then it needs to be removed, okay? And we go in there and we delete it from Drupal, okay? But it's still in Google. It's still being indexed. And then they're like, oh, can we remove it from the Drupal, from the Google index? And it's like, well, oh, yeah, well, we can't do that. So you just want to be wary of, if you are going to allow anonymous users to generate PDFs, just understand that Google can index it. And if you accidentally post some information here, and then 2 weeks later you realize, oh no, this information shouldn't have been public, or we need to remove this address, and Google's already come along and indexed the PDF, that information will still be out there. So that's just something to be aware of, okay? The other issue to be aware of is with images. So sometimes you have problems where DOM PDF won't render images. And there are a few solutions depending on the problem. So some of them you want to take a look, and I will put these issues in the video description. Some issues are easily fixed just by disabling SSL verification. I've had also issues in the past where it couldn't handle WebP file formats. So for people who don't know, I believe it's WebP, I think that's what it's called, is a new file format. Let me see if it's actually used in, because I do believe it is used in Drupal CMS. So what is it? Image styles, yeah, WebP. So if we go ahead and let me just confirm that this stuff works. So I'm just trying to think. Wait, do we have a image here? All right. So this WebP is being used. All right, that's fine. Let's now go ahead and test this out. Go to, and I'll set that as a logo. Let's see what happens. There you go. Our logo is that. And if we go view PDF, oh no, it does work. All right, good. All right. I just want to confirm that. No, it does work. All right, that's fine. So then why didn't that work on, because I recently had that issue. Maybe it was some other configuration. Yeah, anyway. So no, WebP works. All right, that's great. But if you are having problems, then come to this issue, and there are a few solutions here. You can see that there is a merge request for something. Where is it? Goes to here. And what's this issue? This is a long issue. Oh, generating a, whoa, this is a long, how many? Oh, 146 comments. My, that is a lot of comments. All right. So those are the two major issues that I recommend you just be aware of. But let me just finish this off mentioning what I mentioned earlier on, okay? If a client is asking for the ability to generate PDFs, ask them, is it okay if we just utilize the print preview feature in Chrome? So we do what? Command P, go in there and generate the print preview. All right, it's not looking that good. All right, you'll probably have to clean it up, but let's just do this in a format like so. All right, there we go. Ask the client, are they happy if you can just generate a PDF this way, and then click on save? Of course, you'll have to style this out, and you can easily generate your own print style sheet and then just put a display none and hide it and really clean it up. But in my experience, this has been a better solution. So I do apologize if you watched the whole video and you're just raring to go, implementing entity print, and then now I'm saying, avoid using it and just generate your PDFs this way. This is an option. And this is the first option that I always offer, to do it this way, because it's much easier. And they can then save it, they can do it themselves. And then also it kind of it kind of takes you off the hook as a developer, because you can say, well, Chrome's formatting it that way. Well, I don't know why it's formatting it that way. You do have a few options here, but if you want absolute control over your PDFs, then of course use Entity Print. And there's probably third-party solutions now out there where you can send it through some API and it can really clean it up. All right, well, that is it from me. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've learned a lot. If you want to learn more about the other videos, then head over to webwash.net and also check out the other YouTube videos. As I mentioned, we have a lot of videos there on Drupal, and I do want to start playing around with other CMSs as well. I think also a comparison, that will be pretty cool. Drupal versus WordPress. No. Or like comparing how compare, this is how you do this thing in Drupal and this is how you do it in WordPress. I think it's important to understand the comparison. But if you want to learn more about the videos that we have, head over to our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. All right. I hope everyone had a great stream. Comments were a bit low tonight. Why? People don't have a ton of comments about generating PDFs. I'm joking. I'm joking. So you could do, what is it, asset injector, and then generate your own PDF, and then customize the print style sheet. Oh, cool, thanks. Hey, one comment. Oh, another one. Great video. Thanks for making these videos. Yeah, man. Well, thanks for watching, eh? Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching. It was, sometimes I think that these videos are a little too niche, especially when because I've now been doing this, well, I've got about 50 odd videos. The first set of videos were very, were very broad topics, like getting started with fields, getting started with views, getting started with paragraphs and stuff like that. And I don't have to update them just yet. Maybe the paragraphs one I could actually do a new updated version of, because there are a few awesome modules that I've found using paragraphs. One of them is the paragraphs table, but also there was another one. What is it? Paragraph. I haven't tested this out, but apparently you can copy and paste paragraph items between pages. And that is a requirement that I actually had. Anyway. So just today, somebody was mentioning a very niche module in the Drupal Slack. And for people who don't know, there is a Slack community that the Drupal community runs, which I highly recommend that you jump on. I think if you go to, what is it? Drupal/Slack. You can, I think the login date, yeah, drupal.org/Slack will show you how to log in. But this person had a very specific question about custom fields module. And I was like, hey, I've got a video on that particular module, and I was able to give it to him. Yeah. All right. Cool, comments. Okay, what are your thoughts on using Layout Builder versus creating Twig templates? Well, you can kind of use a mixture of both. So what I tend to do is, let's go here. Wait, am I sharing the right screen? Yeah, I am. All right, cool. So what I've done in the past is the full content view mode is controlled by Layout Builder. But then if you go to structure, content types, and go to manage display, full content, manage layout, these actual sections are custom layouts. So in the past, what I've done is I have created a custom layout, and this is all in Twig. And then I embedded and used Layout Builder to kind of build it out. So that is one way of doing it. You can absolutely, if you want, you can just untick use Layout Builder, and then straight away, this will use, let's actually go here. This will use, I guess, this one. And then you can go ahead and just modify it as much as you want. And then everything is pumped through the content. What is it here? The content variable. So you can do it that way. But I mean, there is so many ways to do it in Drupal at this point. And it just depends what you're more comfortable with. Because in the past with Layout Builder, I've worked on websites where we had a design system set up where you could come in here, go add section, and you had a list of layouts. And so if we wanted to create a new layout, we'll just come in here and design it this way. So that's your options. But then with Experience Builder, who knows? I'm not sure if you're aware of Experience Builder. Experience Builder is going to be a new version of Layout Builder, but it's going to use React components. It's kind of like a modernized version. That's just going to shake things up again. But then at the same time, you could use paragraphs to create your components. You know, the question comes down to, you know, how are you building out your Drupal site? That's the question. Do you want to just throw absolutely everything into CK editor? Okay. Or do you want to create a paragraph and then have all your components, as paragraphs? No, I don't have any experience with Experience Builder. Well, no one has. Experience Builder is still getting built. You shouldn't use it. I've played around with it slightly. There is a repo on it, but I wouldn't use it in production at this point. But I'll be curious to see how it works, because at this point, you have a few options when it comes to managing your look and feel of a Drupal site, which is great on one end because it's choice is great, but sometimes I don't like having the choice. And you can sometimes lock yourself into one paradigm, and then it's not until you're a year into a project and you're reeling, oh no, man, we should have used Experience Builder to begin with. And that's the thing I get also with, what is it, Laravel as well. Love Laravel, but straight away when you're setting up a project, it's like, do you want to use, Blade templates or, React and go headless or stuff like that? And it's like straight away you're bombarded with choice and you don't know. It's like, well, I don't know if I want to use that, what is it, inertia as well and things like that. You don't know until later on. And it's just a personal preference, but also projects change as well. But yeah, Experience Builder, I'm kind of looking forward to that. To me, it's like a glorified Gutenberg. I don't want to say that because people love or hate Gutenberg editor, but it's all React. But the stuff that I saw, the videos that I saw of it, looks pretty good. Pretty good. But I don't think it's going to be used to actually write content. You'll still write content the good old-fashioned way. But I mean, CK Editor is pretty awesome. If only CK Editor had like a block system where you type in like a slash and then, oh, it probably does, but you need to pay for it. What is it? CK Editor blocks. Oh, is it block widget? No, not code blocks. Does it have it? No, I don't want code blocks. I want to, show blocks. I understand that, but I want to, see, I like the ability in like Notion and things like that where you just type in a slash and you get all your list of blocks. CK Editor must have something like this. ckeditor.com. I thought it did. Demos. AI, of course, AI assistant. Collaborator, asynchronous. Go away. Yes. Email editing, merge. Oh, markdown. Oh, that's pretty interesting. Take a look at that. Headless. Ooh, maybe that's it. Mobile friendly. optimizer, export, enhanced, import, productivity. Oh, is that it? Oh, slash commands. That's what I was looking for. Let me open up this one. Slash commands. Ah, yeah. See, okay, it does have it. Now, is this a paid for feature? That is the question. That is pretty cool. That is pretty cool. So for rich text, right, this is gonna be rich, be rich. This is pretty cool. Chuck this stuff in. Oh, I did not know that. That is okay. That's pretty cool. But can you file manager? Yeah, yeah. All half this stuff is paid for. That's the problem. But is there a nice headless? Yeah. See, this is what I want. Exactly what I want. Ah, but I want something like this. Essentially, I want to build something like Notion in Drupal. That's what I want. That's what I want. Because I feel like, yeah, because I use Notion, but I have kind of like a love-hate relationship with it. It's great when it works, not great when it doesn't work. Well, you can say that about anything, really, let's be honest. But that is, yeah, this is pretty cool. Now let's check out pricing. Oof. Essentials. 160 per month. Let me guess. Slash, of course. Let's pay for that. Shame. Yeah, see, I wouldn't mind paying, but 160 bucks US dollars. That's not cheap. Anyway. All right. Well, let's finish up. We're on a bit of a tangent. Let's just finish up right here. Have a great weekend. If you have any other questions, just throw them in. I'll do my best to help you all out. And yeah, have a great weekend. All right, take care. See you later.